What's up, everybody? On today's episode of The Fight Life, we have Chris Algieri in studio. He's going to be fighting Ruslan Provodnikov on June 14th for the junior welterweight WBO title. That's a mouthful, actually. But we also dug into the archives, and we wound up pulling up some old footage, a highlight video that we did for a Tough Enough event last year. It's pretty awesome. We don't know how it didn't get released, but it didn't, and we're going to release it now on this episode of The Fight Life. So let's go ahead and jump straight into this. Chris Algieri. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the studio. Today we have Chris Algieri here, undefeated pro boxer. He's going to be fighting Ruslan Provodnikov on June 14th. He's going to be fighting for, which title is that again?
The WBO Light Welterweight Title.
All right, and it's also your first time headlining an HBO event.
Yes, first time on HBO, yep.
So tell us what that feels like for you, man.
You know, it's pretty much a dream come true. You know, it's the premier network in boxing. You know, they've been doing it for as long as you can remember. You know, so it's definitely a real honor to be fighting on HBO.
So let's just talk about the fight a little bit, and then we'll talk a little bit more about you. But, you know, we were talking a little bit about how he felt that he shouldn't be fighting you, that he wants to be fighting, you know, probably like a bigger name. You know, what are your thoughts on that?
You know, really, I don't take it as a disrespect. I just take it's a business. You know, this is about money. You know, Ruslan had some tough fights with some big name guys, and he expected to get, you know, more big name guys where he can, you know, make the kind of money that he feels is, you know, he's worth. So I understand his, you know, his apprehension about taking a fight like this, but, you know, it is what it is. We're here now, and he's got to do it. So
you came down here to Vegas for your camp. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about what that's been like.
This is actually, I've been down for camps, you know, over here before. My trainer, Tim Lane, out here is, you know, set up a beautiful camp for us, and everything's going great so far. And I'll be out here for another couple weeks and just getting everything sharp. And it's worked well in the past, so I'd like to keep it going. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
So you're going to be fighting in New York, mm-hmm. The Barclays. You know, what does that mean to you to be able to fight at home?
Well, I mean, I dreamed of this since I was a kid. You know, I thought it was going to be the Garden because, you know, when I was younger, that was, you know, the place, the Mecca. The Barclays wasn't even, you know, built yet, wasn't even an idea yet. But now, I mean, the Barclays is the premier spot, the premier venue in New York. So it's pretty mind-blowing to be, you know, fighting at such a beautiful place and such a big stage.
Now, how do you feel that plays into, you know, someone like your opponent coming down and have to fight you in front of your crowd, basically?
Yeah, I mean, as much as it, you know, is not exactly where I live. It's my hometown. You know, he's got a lot of Russian fans in Brooklyn, and I think that was part of the idea why they wanted to bring it there. But, you know, it's a train stop away from Long Island, so I think there's going to be a lot of Team Algieri, you know, fans there, so it'll be good.
All right. Now, you know, looking at an opponent like this who's a little seasoned, you know, where is it that you feel that you shine and have more of an advantage in a fight like that?
You know, I think my athleticism and my boxing IQ are going to play a big role in this fight. You know, Ruslan is you know, like you said, a seasoned guy, and he's been in with top quality guys. But he's kind of what you see is what you get. You know, and I think I've got a few more facets to my style that are gonna be the big difference in this fight.
So let's go back, you know, to how all this got started. Mm-hmm. I mean, you had a kickboxing career, and now you're boxing. But, you know, what is it that made you fall in love with combat sports?
I mean, I've been watching boxing since I was a kid. You know, it was probably the first sport I ever really remember as a kid watching. I don't come from a very athletic background or family, you know, but my grandfather from Argentina used to, you know, watch a lot of boxing. And I just remember Saturday nights going down and sitting in the living room, sitting on his lap and watching fights. So as far back as I can remember, the first sport that I ever watched was boxing. You know, so I grew up, you know, wanting to be a boxer, and now I'm kind of living that dream.
All right. So, you know, let's talk about the first time that you started going into a martial arts school, and what that was like for you.
I tried every sport in the book just to, you know, to do stuff. My brother was actually a very good athlete and played baseball and swimming, and, you know, none of those were really for me. I hated team sports, so I was kind of like, you know, left to the wayside. But then we found martial arts, and I started doing Chinese Kempo, and you know, it was just I fell in love like the first day. You know, this is what I wanted to do. I was about 9 years old, and I really never looked back. You know, I had my black belt by 16. Had my first, amateur kickboxing fight at 15. I went to see a fight when I was like 13 or 14, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to fight, So yeah, ever since then, it's just been since the age of 15. I've been, pretty consistent in fighting since then.
All right. Well, let's talk about the differences fundamentally between, the kickboxing and the boxing. How was that transition for you from one style to another?
It was probably easier than most. I was much more of a puncher even as a kickboxer. I think my athleticism from kickboxing really carries over into my boxing style. But really the biggest fundamental difference, I would say, is the speed. Boxing is much faster. Much faster. The rounds are longer. There's a lot more punches thrown. A lot more techniques can be thrown. Punch techniques are a lot shorter and faster than kicks. Kicks kind of slow things down. It's more of a power move. But I think that was probably the biggest transition. That and just defense, because you're defending so many more strikes in a shorter period of time.
And let's talk a little bit about that. You're obviously going to be limited on the tools that you have. What was that like to have to?
I look at it like this. People always ask, like, why didn't you go into MMA? I had a kickboxing background, boxing, and I wrestled in high school. And I took it as, you got all these weapons. I don't want to add weapons. I wanted to hone my skill and try and master, less weapons. And I think that's what boxing is. It's the cleanest combat sport there is, because you just got to worry about these two weapons and mastering those two. When you throwing in knees and kicks and takedowns and jiu-jitsu, it can get really confusing.
One of the things I thought was pretty cool was that you've never had an amateur boxing career. You basically were a pro kickboxer. Obviously, there's rules around that, so you had to go into pro boxing. But what was that like?
Tell you the truth, I wouldn't have had an amateur fight even if I was allowed to. Once you fight without a headgear and and you've been paid before, I couldn't go back to putting headgear on and fighting for free. So it was an interesting transition, but it was something that we knew that my team was ready for. I had been training and sparring with boxers throughout my kickboxing career, so the transition wasn't that crazy for me.
Okay. One of the other things that I thought was pretty cool, you're one of the few fighters that I've met that actually has a plan, for life outside of the ring. A lot of times, these guys basically live the sport and they die with the sport. And that's pretty much it. Let's talk a little bit about what you do outside of boxing.
I have a bachelor's degree in healthcare science and pre-medical studies, and a master's degree in clinical nutrition from universities back in New York. And as long as I've been a professional fighter, except for the past maybe year and a half or 2 years, I've been a full-time student. So I had to kind of be a student of the game and a student, in school and at university too. So I have my own nutrition, business where I work with clients and do nutrition consultations, group seminars. I work with individuals, one-on-one, and it's a very rewarding field. You can see changes in people. People tell you all the time, how much better they feel, and you can make some serious changes in someone's life just through the food that they eat, and the lifestyle that they live, and you can do it pretty quickly. So it's a really fulfilling and fun field to work in. So that's something that I'm still currently doing, but look to pursue much more once my boxing career has come to a close.
All right. Now you're 19 fights in. You're going to go into the 20th fight. How far do you see yourself going in the sport?
This is going to be the first world title fight. First title shot that we're going to get. I'm looking to obviously win on June 14th. I don't have anything else in my mind, and really from there, just look for more big fights, look for more titles, possibly move up in weight and fight for contend for some titles at welterweight. I have the frame for it. I fought at welterweight before as a kickboxer and even earlier in my pro boxing career. So I'm looking to grab a couple titles and then keep it moving.
All right. Now this is just a question with regards to kickboxing and how it's starting to take off a little bit. You have organizations like Glory. Obviously, K1 was huge for a while.
Yeah.
You ever think about going back and taking kickboxing?
Yeah. I tell you the truth. I love kickboxing. It's a great sport. I really, I left it because at the time it was not popular, in this country, and there wasn't really any money to be made there. Now, like with shows like Glory coming in, I went to a Glory show back in New York. I think last June. They're awesome. they're awesome shows, you know, and the fighters are world class. If that kind of stuff was still around when I was kickboxing, I might still be kickboxing, to tell you the truth, because they really are great shows. But in terms of going back and after this, you know, my boxing career, I don't really foresee that. You know, I think I'm going to, you know, end my combat career in boxing, you know, where I think I belong.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of that stuff that you're saying. You know, obviously the business side of it is very different.
Yeah.
You know, what were the major differences that you realized in boxing versus the kickboxing as far as the business end? You
know, I mean, in kickboxing, I was a 2-time world, you know, champion in 2 different weight classes, 2 different organizations. Nobody knew who I was. You know, I was undefeated. If I was 20-0 and a 2-division world champion in boxing, I'd be, you know, all over the place, and I'd be rich and famous. You know, not that I'm doing this to be rich and famous, but it's just totally different worlds. You know, so you know, my foray into boxing, I think is time to try and make some more money and get a little more recognition, so I can pursue the rest of my life, my career.
All right. Sounds great, man. Sounds like you have a great game plan for everything that's going on in your career. I want to thank you for taking the time to be on. Just real quick, go ahead and give them a plug on where they can catch your fight. And
first of all, thanks. You know, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. But yeah, just keep tuning in, guys. You know, we got June 14th on HBO, Boxing After Dark versus Ruslan Provodnikov for the WBO Light Welterweight Title. This is going to be a great run, and just keep checking in.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring up the volume. We will control all that you see and hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your television. We will control all that you see and hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your television.
addition to an illegal knee to the head, the doctor's recommendation. Right corner, Shane Biggs Johnson.
All right, everybody, I want to thank you guys for watching this episode of The Fight Life with Chris Algieri. We're definitely looking forward to his fight that he has coming up against Ruslan Provodnikov on HBO. Make sure you guys check that out June 14th, and we really hope you guys enjoyed the old footage that we were able to pull out. But as always, without you, there is no us, and you are Fight Life Media.